Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. I'm your host, Carly, and I'll be your guide on this journey from consciousness to cluelessness and back around again. Today on the podcast, I talk to Shane Campbell, otherwise known as Vegan Country Boy on social media. Shane uses his platforms to promote veganism and talk about how to be an activist. As you'll hear in the episode, he is also in the midst of editing a documentary about veganism that he himself created. Enjoy the episode. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So you said that you've listened to the podcast before, so you probably know this is coming, but the title is Consciously Clueless. So I am really loving asking people that I interview where they're at kind of on that scale from consciousness to cluelessness. Where are you at right now in this moment?
To be truthful, I don't know. I'd say somewhere in between, to be honest. The reason for that, I suppose, is because 2 years ago, if you would have asked me this question, I would have said I was conscious, but obviously 2 years on now, I look back and I'm like, whoa, I've learned so much in the last 2 years in all aspects of life, not just with veganism. And I just think you continue to learn and continue to grow. So I think answering conscious would be incorrect, because I'd say in 2 years' time, if you ask me the same question again, I'd probably be like in between. So
what is the 2-year mark? What happened 2 years ago? Do you feel like that kind of catapulted change?
I suppose when I first started, I was very across the board. You can be vegan. There's no excuse why you can't be vegan. I was very much like, I'd ignore all the other reasoning to it, and it was just my way or the highway. And so in the last 2 years, I've had a kind of major wake-up call in regards to my privilege, white veganism as well. I've looked into all sides of veganism, and looking back, I'm kind of like, oh, that's a little bit embarrassing. But again, 2 years on, I'm learning, and I'm sure in 2 years' time I'll be after learning more than I've learned now. So it's crazy. It's crazy how much you actually learn when you open your eyes, I suppose.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that you said things 2 years ago, like everyone can be vegan, that now you look at differently, because especially in the age of this idea of cancel culture, where saying something wrong could get you canceled, which I think there's some validity to calling people out, but canceling people just means no growth. So being able to be here and say, yeah, I said some things that now I understand are wrong, because I've done that, especially with veganism and my privilege, or my privilege basically with any topic. I'm sure I can look back at things that I just want to crawl into a cave and pretend never happened. But I think being able to say, like, yeah, I've totally messed up is super powerful for other people to have permission to learn and be clumsy.
Yeah, I think that 100%, like in regards to self-growth. And I think I wouldn't be probably where I am now in regards to knowledge if it wasn't kind of criticism along the way. I know like a lot of people in the vegan community, it's like, don't criticize another vegan, which I agree. If someone's doing activism, as long as they're not taken from other movements and, I suppose hurting people in a sense, it's, but in my eyes, it's kind of like, criticism is a part of life, and I think it definitely helps you grow. And I think I wouldn't have, 2 years ago, if I hadn't been criticized along the way, I wouldn't be kind of where I am now in regards to my mindset. So yeah, I think, like you said, we all grow, and who knows where we'll be in 2 years' time when it comes to veganism.
Maybe we'll do another episode in 2 years and go, oh my gosh, all the stuff we said in that first episode.
Yeah, we'll just play like snippets back and be like, embarrassing.
Exactly. I like that you said the word mindset, because I think it takes a mindset shift to also be able to take that criticism, like not be upset with it, but be thankful, which is not what we're taught to do when someone
Yeah.
criticizes us, but to be like, oh, I'm so glad that was brought to my attention, instead of saying, screw this, I'm not listening.
Yeah, 100%. You don't learn that way. Like, well, I find that's my opinion. You don't learn that way. If you just write off everyone's criticism, how do you grow? But like a person as well, you've had on the podcast, Zipporah. Like I've followed
Mm-hmm.
her now for the last couple of months, and just eyes opened. Like it's amazing what you learn, and she is, for anyone that is listening, I would definitely check her out. She's amazing.
Yeah, it's people like that are, um, I'm thankful for being willing to be those voices, because it's not easy. Some things Zipporah shares on her social media as a Black woman who is talking about veganism, she gets so many direct messages from people talking about basically why she shouldn't have said something or whatever it is. And it's astounding. It's astounding what people will say. And the fact that she's willing to be there and take that in terms of creating content and teaching people is incredible.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. She's amazingly strong, to be fair, and I've learned loads from her, and that's just another example of how watching people and taking criticism can help you grow.
Yeah, definitely. With a lot of the things going on and conversations going on within the US, there were a lot of moments over the past few months where I've had to do some examination, because I think, especially when you are vegan and you care about the environment and you're privileged
Mm.
and all the other things, it's really easy to be like, I'm so woke. I get it. Like, I totally understand how the world works. And like continuing to be like, no, I don't.
No, really, like it is, and I think as well, like, see, for a lot of it for me was, I don't know, I think I just got caught up in the animal industry and the cruelty, and I just put blinders on, and because from seeing that
Mm,
cruelty, I wouldn't acknowledge anything else but not doing that. Now, I'm not saying obviously animal factory and all, but like we're talking about people in different countries with like food deserts and people that don't have the privilege we have, say. And so, I've understood that to a point now where I don't make comparisons, in that I understand where the line is, and I'm glad for it too, to be honest.
yeah, same. Even when it's hard, it's definitely work worth doing.
Yeah.
So tell us about how you became vegan.
So yeah, I was a massive meat eater. I used to eat meat like twice a day. Like when I used to be in the gym and stuff, I used to believe in like no carb diets, and I'd eat
Mm.
a load of chicken breasts, and I just have a lot of protein with my chicken breasts, and I'd even at times like minced beef I would have, and I'd cook that up, and I'd just eat it like flavor with some spices or whatever, and just eat a bowl of it like. And looking back now, it actually just makes me a bit sick. But
Yeah, I was
I
like, ooh.
yeah, yeah. But to how I got there, I suppose one night I kind of went down a bit of a rabbit hole. I went on Netflix. I looked at a couple of environmental documentaries on Netflix. Cowspiracy, I think, was one of them, and I was really intrigued by it. And I was like, how do I not know this? How have I
Mm.
not seen? How have I not been taught this? Like I was, what am I now? 30. I'm 30 now, so I would have been 25, I think, or 20, yeah, 25. And I was looking at it and I was like, I'm 25 years of age and I have no idea of this. How is that? And then I suppose with Google showing you documentaries that you might like and the likes of that, I ended up kind of going down and watching Earthlings. And then I was like, it just blew my mind like that was happening. And
Mm-hmm.
I talked to a few people and I was like, I'm going vegan. Like I did my research. It wasn't a thing of I just watched a documentary. Like a lot of people kind of, especially non-vegans, when you mentioned documentary, are like, oh, you watched a vegan propaganda documentary and you went vegan. But it's not that. Like I looked into animal farming in Ireland. And it kind of clicked with me that that food on the table was an animal that I don't need to be eating. So yeah, I kind of talked to a few people and I was like, I'm going vegan, and they were like, don't go vegan, like go vegetarian. That's just way too extreme to go straight to vegan. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I think like I kind of was like, yeah, okay, or whatever. To a few of them, like I was like, yeah, maybe, but I couldn't consume any dairy products after seeing what I seen and after looking into it. So yeah, I just went straight from a massive meat eater to straight into vegan.
And how was that transition in terms of food and everything? Did you find it hard to go, no pun intended, cold turkey?
I suppose it was challenging at first because like when I went, like I have a sister who's vegetarian, so like she helped me a good bit in regards to what I needed to get, what proteins, what vitamins I needed to get and stuff. So like that wasn't too bad, but it is a massive change, I suppose. Not so much now, but like I'm vegan what 4.5 years now. So like 4.5 years ago, a lot of the stuff that was vegan didn't have vegan, so you'd be reading ingredients. So like reading
Mm.
the ingredients and stuff, was tricky, I suppose, at first. But yeah, like I had two friends as well that were vegan, and they were vegan for, I think one of them was vegan for 5 or 6, 7 years before I was. So I went to them and kind of got advice off them. But it wasn't terribly difficult or anything. I'm a little bit stubborn that way. I kind of wouldn't let it be anyway. Once I'd kind of set my mind to it, I was like, that's it. But I do think it's important, like that you do the research and look into what you need to get and where you need to get it, because that is massively important. A lot of people that
Mm-hmm.
go vegan and then they're eating chips for like 6 months, and then they go, I got sick on veganism. You didn't get sick on veganism. You got sick because you're eating chips for 6 months. So
Yeah, I think it's so interesting that once you tell people in your life, oh, I'm on a plant-based diet or I eat vegan or whatever you say, so many people turn into nutritionists all of a sudden and ask all these questions that they can't answer for their own diet, right? Like, how much protein do you get? Like, well, how much protein do you get?
oh my God, like protein doesn't exist when you eat meat apparently, because it's just an automatic given that once you're like, and same with vitamins. Like I'm of the theory that everyone should probably supplement, because I'd say if you check three-quarters of the people, I'd say regardless of what you eat, you're definitely lacking in something, I'd say. So I think supplements are great, but it is like everyone you talk to is nutritionist. Like the amount of times when in the first couple of months, I couldn't get over it. I was like, they were like, yeah, no, that's not good. You need to be getting your protein. And it's mind-boggling to show. I think that's nearly meat culture though, like that it's like it's been put out there that
Mm.
much by the meat industry that people are like, well, hold on, like meat, you can't get protein from anything but meat. So yeah, but that is definitely, everyone becomes a nutritionist. You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because there is concern over protein, but then again, people don't actually know like what vitamins and proteins and whatever like do in our body or why we need them or anything like that. Like people, and I'm totally generalizing here, and I get that,
Yeah,
but there is often a response from people who are maybe fine eating McDonald's, right? Or whatever it is,
yeah,
but are like, but be careful about being vegan. And once you kind of start looking into it or really going into this world of food and how it's been marketed to us, you're like, wait a second.
yeah. You could be in the smoking area of a pub. Someone could be drinking a pint and smoking a fag and telling you that veganism is bad for your health. You know. So it's just crazy, and it's about perspective. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people have no problem going down, and I'm not shaming anyone. I love fast food. So, like, if you want to eat fast food, you want to eat fast food. But people have no problem going and eating fast food. But as soon as you said, I'm going to be eating chickpeas and more vegetables and more greens, the stuff that you're made to eat when you're growing up, they're all like, whoa, 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 that's not good.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think that was one of the things that was really good about a lot of the documentaries, but in the Game Changers, they did a good job of talking about marketing and
Mm.
you know, the connection to the meat industry and just how it was a clear shift from cigarettes being marketed by doctors choosing their favorite cigarette. Like, this is what I smoke on a break in between surgery. And then they realized they couldn't do that anymore. So it became food and it became meat. And it was like this clear shift of it's marketing. It's wild to me. That's like blew my mind and then pissed me off.
Yeah, well, if you see the transition between like the early smoking marketing and the early meat marketing, they're identical. Like even the colors and stuff, like on it, and you know just the layout, like it's mental that they literally just marketed the same, and they sold it. To be honest, like they have instilled that into society, like the people are like, and even with like toxic masculinity, like it's like real men eat meat. If you don't eat meat, you're not a
Mm-hmm.
real man.
Does that persist in Ireland as well? Like, did you feel any of that when you went vegan, that there was like a question of your manhood?
Yeah, I do think. I think that's quite across the board. To be honest, I find seen online and stuff, but in Ireland, I just feel like toxic masculinity and meat kind of go hand in hand a lot. I have had it like where it's kind of like, well, yeah, you don't eat meat, you know. It's definitely questionable. Like, and I think it's in the stats. If you look at how many women are vegan and vegetarian compared to how many men are, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The proof is in the pudding there, I suppose, in regards to toxic masculinity.
Yeah, definitely. That's, I think, why The Game Changers ended up being one of my favorite documentaries to show to people or to recommend specifically to men. Because I was like, look at these athletes and these strong men, and they eat plants and they're fine, and you can be too.
Yeah, I like to actually put in the that the erections with eating plant based compared to eating meat. Thought that was gas because it's just a good one for anyone that's been like toxic or talking about masculinity. You just throw it out there and they're like, wait, what? So that's I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. But yeah, I did enjoy Game Changers. It's a good one because it was first of its kind of its type, I suppose, in regards to
Mm-hmm.
you can be an athlete and be vegan.
So you are working, speaking of documentaries, on a project.
Yeah, so I started, what was it? It was before COVID, so I've kind of got a bit sidetracked with it, but I'm hoping to get it back on track now for March, I'd say. But yeah, I've shot it all last year. I took basically one of my friends who was like, he's mad into the gym. He plays hurling, which is a sport. I don't know if you probably don't know what hurling is, do you?
Mm-mm.
You should look it up. You should definitely look it up. It's a bit crazy. It's yeah, it's pretty physical game. I think what does Jason Statham say? He says it's a mix between hockey and death. I think he says that in the
Oh,
film
sure, sure.
so it's a pretty physical game. But yeah, he's mad into the gym and hurling, and I approached him to be honest because I thought he would be out of all the people I know, he'd be one of the least like likely to go vegan. So I was like, and he's quite ripped as well. He's quite muscular. So I was like, I'll approach Matty and ask him. And I suppose he said he'd get back to me, and we had a talk about it. And about a week later, he got back to me and said he'll do it. So I sat down with him and I kind of said to him, one of the main things I want for this documentary is you you can't tell people you're doing a documentary. So I wanted them to kind of go
Mm.
in to work and stuff, and I wanted them to face the kind of questions and the ridicule you get for literally just not wanting to contribute to cruelty. And I said, you can say your environment, you can say it's for health reasons, or you can say it's for animals, but you can't say you're doing it for a documentary. You have to act like it's set in stone
That's
now that this is
smart.
something you want to do. Um, yeah, yeah, because I just thought it'd be interesting to see. It was a bit of a cop out, if not, because he'd just go, "I'm doing it for a documentary," and they'd be like, "Oh, good luck with that." But
Right.
the amount of stuff he faced and the amount of criticism he faced and jeering in work and people just making smart comments and literally just saying you're going to lose your muscle, it was just outrageous to be honest. So yeah, we shot that and it's all shot. We just need to kind of get it edited and that. So I'm not going to give away any ending or anything, but It was a pretty crazy 3 months. We started in October and we finished up at Christmas because I wanted them to go through a tough period. Which like Christmas is massive in Ireland in regards to like turkey, ham, and well, in Ireland in general,
Mm.
to be honest, meat is fairly like cabbage and bacon, and that is very much an Irish thing. But yeah, so it went great, and I'm hoping to get that out in March.
Is that something you want to do more of, creating documentaries around veganism and activism?
Yeah, definitely. Like I studied TV and media in college. Like finish up, was it 2 years ago or that? And I did the documentary with like I enjoy documentaries anyway. Hence why I ended up
Hmm.
watching Cowspiracy. I was just going through the documentary list and got into it. It wasn't like I just kind of stumbled across it kind of thing, and then I was like, but I'm going back into that story. But anyway, so yeah, I definitely do want to make more of that in the future. Like I did the one with Matty, which is taking a meteor, which has been done before in the States and stuff, but it hasn't been done in Ireland, and Ireland is very much like I think when we look at these kind of documentaries online or look at animal agriculture in general, we always kind of point the finger at America or oh yeah, that's not over here, that's over there. You know, that's all
Mm.
mark produced over there. So we do like pointing the finger. So I wanted to kind of take it that an Irish person with all that he has around him, how he can transition from being an athlete eating loads of meat to going vegan. So I thought it was kind of a little spin that people can't point the finger across the waters anymore.
What other topics or ideas, or maybe you don't want to share, no one can steal your ideas, but would do you want to do more things like that specifically, or like what other things do you think would be
Um,
great to create films about?
I think environmental is a big one as well,
Hmm.
because without the environment, we don't have any of this. So I think that's an important one, and I suppose just a bit more originality. Like I said, the documentary with Matty is, I suppose it has been done before, but yeah, I'll probably look to maybe environmental issues and see what else I suppose I can do in Ireland in regards to veganism.
Did you, because you started with stumbling across a documentary, did that Cowspiracy and well, Earthlings. I can't watch all of Earthlings, so good for you for getting through it because I will fully admit I can't get through it. It is intense.
Yeah, I think that's part of why the documentary I haven't really edited it fully. We got like I emailed the director or producer, I think the director of Dominion, the movie, and asked him
Hmm.
could we use it in the film. So my thing was I wanted to show Matty as well. I wanted to show Matty the industry. So we got permission to film in a local cinema, and we got the screen to ourselves. So I had to Matty sat down and watched the entire film in cinema, which was it was crazy watching on a big screen like that. Even I was filming it, I was
Ooh.
kind of like I was a little bit engrossed in it, but also I'm having to edit that now, so I've got a kind of that's part of the editing, and it breaks my heart. Like, and the same with Earthlings, like it's just I don't know how. Like a lot of people turn Earthlings off after 10 minutes, like, and I see why. Like I kind of made myself watch 3/4 of it, and then when I got in that far, I was just kind of like I finished it, but like it literally just rips your soul apart.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you can't unsee. You can't unknow what is happening behind the scenes. And I, to circle back, I started my vegan journey for health and then dominoed into the environment and then animal rights and then, everything else. Um, so do you kind of start in one area? Like it sounds like you were really affected by the animal cruelty and then kind of everything else, or were you just like everything all at the same time?
And I think domino effect is like the perfect word used there because, like, you know, you go from animals to like, human rights. Like, it is all so, like, it's all together, like, and it's, like intertwined. Like at first, I suppose I looked into animals and then I was like, human rights and, people working in slaughterhouses with PTSD. Like, it's just,
Mm.
there's so much to do, like, you know, a lot of people go, you're vegan for the animals, like, and I probably would have said that 2 years ago, but there's so much more to it now, like human and non-human animals, like, so I definitely think that's really important to point out. And like, I would have originally been like vegan for the animals, but it's just vegan for everything. Like, there's just so much reason for it.
Yeah, I think that was another thing that really pissed me off in the beginning. And I went through that angry vegan phase. I don't know if you are familiar or if you felt that effect, but it felt like the Matrix, right? Where you're just like, oh, I'm seeing everything so differently. And I'm so pissed off that I didn't know until now. And it's all connected.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Matrix. Like, you literally, you just, I was 25 years. That's like, if I was lucky enough to live to 100, that's a quarter of my life. And I wouldn't say lied to, like, my parents brought me up the way they were brought up, so it wasn't them lying to me, but you're nearly lied to by, you know, it's just society, like, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty crazy when you open your eyes. And I see what you mean with the angry vegan. I think everyone kind of goes through that phase because you're that annoyed and that angry about the fact that people, because it's like a switch. Once you kind of make that connection, it's like you're switched on, and you're like, why can't you see this? Like, and then, but every so often I do have to take a step back and go, well, hold on, you took 25 years to see this. And if I was talking to
Right.
myself 5 years ago, what way would I talk to myself now? So yeah, I totally get the angry vegan part, and you know, I think every so often everyone gets that. You know, you do root back to it, and you kind of go, "Well, remember what the goal is," and sometimes, you just have to kind of step back a little bit.
Yeah, I've mentioned this a few times on the podcast now. People are going to get sick of it, but my best friend growing up and still is, we've been best friends since we were 8. She was vegan in middle school. She was like way ahead of the curve. And we live in rural Minnesota in the US. Like it's not like it was a very populated city or anything. So she was way ahead of the curve. And I think back to, you know, I grew up hunting and fishing and eating meat and everything else. And I think about how she just stayed my best friend. And if I had questions, she would answer and she never made me feel bad. And once I was in that phase of just being angry at everyone who wouldn't listen to me, I had to remember that this woman was just like a kind, sweet soul and let me figure it out in my own time.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, that's what I have to do.
Yeah, no, because my girlfriend was vegetarian when we I went vegan. She went vegetarian, and she transitioned. I think, what was it? She's vegan now 2 years, I think. So there was kind of 2 years when I was a bit like, everyone can be vegan, and she was vegetarian. Now I still kind of had that kind of view that I just think if you push someone without them seeing it, you know, you have to make that connection. If you don't make that connection, that's why there's so many people like celebrities, etc., and people going vegan and they get a huge platform and then they're not vegan anymore. Like, I think the connection, once you make that connection, and I say a lot of people go, when they say, oh, they were vegan, they weren't vegan if they're gone back, like, to
Mm,
wearing leather, doing this, doing that. Because for me, just once you make that connection, it's just you can't go back.
yeah, that's interesting.
Like, I do understand that certain people, you know, like certain people, like we stated, you know, have less privilege in that. So I'm obviously excluding that. But like, I think once you go and you have the means to be vegan, I don't see you going back. So
Yeah, and that's so interesting too, is that there have been a few celebrities or people that have a lot of, you know, social capital or in the spotlight that go vegan and talk about it and then are suddenly not vegan, and people are in absolute uproar on the internet. Like the internet blows up when celebrities change their mind on their diets, and it's always so fascinating because even with food, people are still put on a pedestal of who to follow. And it's like, well, you shouldn't have been getting your advice from the celebrity who's been vegan for a year. Follow the like million vegan doctors that are on Instagram.
yeah, 100%. I think that's quite that's just a very millennial thing, isn't it?
Yes. I am wondering if you have any good like conversion stories, or if you have gotten anyone in your life to edge towards veganism or anything like that. You talked about your girlfriend.
Yeah, so she was, yeah, I think she was kind of, she would, we would have been together the whole time. So she was eating like probably 80% vegan. I think the only time she didn't was when she was out and she was back like then when you could only get cheese pizza or whatever, she get a cheese pizza. But in regards to conversions, I have a couple of friends that went vegetarian. My sister went vegan. She was vegetarian for 13 years, since she was 13. So she,
Oh
more than
wow.
half her life now she's vegetarian. So she went vegan after I was kind of like, check out these documentaries. She watched them and looked it up as well. And she's like, oh my God. So she went vegan. There's been like quite a good few messages on Instagram, and people are messaging me, just say people I was in school with, and just say, look, I'm not wanting to eat meat anymore, and I don't want to, looking for a replacement for eggs and stuff. So I get a lot of that, which is good to
Mm-hmm.
see. But I'll have to you'll have to wait and see if Matty went or not.
I know, I'm excited. Um, so your Instagram has quite a following now. It's Vegan Country Boy, right?
Yeah.
So where did that kind of start and come from? Did you expect that?
And no, to be honest, I started as a journal. I just wanted to kind of track my food. I was like, right, I'll track my food, and then I look back, just say if it comes in 2 months' time, like, oh, I don't know what to eat. I'd scroll back through my timeline and be like, oh, I had this a couple of months ago. That was nice. But just kind of like that to keep track. And then, yeah, I was posting recipes, and then I just started looking more into just animal rights and all that. And it kind of just, yeah, just kind of built and built, went up in the following of that. But I think, like, for me, like, I've learned so much. Like, it's amazing how much you learn from just say Instagram, from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um there's like, I'm volunteering now once COVID dies down to work. Like, I work 5 days a week from Monday to Friday, so I'm hoping to get Saturdays working in an animal sanctuary in Kildare. So I seen that from a couple of people I was following on Instagram. They were just, the stuff they were doing just is unbelievable. Like, the work they were doing for animals, and it
Mm.
just, there's so many good accounts out there. But yeah, my one just, it literally was just a journal, and then it just got some followers and stuff, and I don't really think it. I just kept doing my thing and just kept posting or whatever. But
So it wasn't even about activism.
no, no. At first it was a journal, and then I was kind of like, I think once I first started, I was kind of a bit of, when I first started, I was kind of like, oh, I'm vegan. Someone asked was I vegan, it'd be the last thing I'd say, kind of thing. If I was ordering out in a restaurant, I'd kind of avoid the situation of saying I'm
Mm.
vegan. I was kind of like, at first I watched all the stuff, and then I was a little bit kind of, little bit not scared, but like when people ask me about it, I'd be like, oh yeah, each their own. Which I don't use that term anymore in regards to each their own, because, like, not that it's a bad term, like, but in regards to each their own, you're leaving out, you're leaving out the victim. So I don't use that term, but I would have when I first started. I was kind of like, I say from when I first started to 2 years, I went from I'm just trying it, and just been really polite about it, to like being more the angry vegan. And I think I'm reversing back, but like I'll never, like, straight off the bat, like, I'm not like your stereotypical vegan where we sit down at a table and I put my hand and go, I'm vegan. But if someone asks me
Mm-hmm.
like why I'm vegan now, I will tell them I am vegan. And like, I'll be like, you sure you want to hear this? Because I'm going to tell you how it is, basically. And I say it how it is, but it started with a kind of sugarcoat it, because I was a little bit kind of, it was kind of new, so I was like just a little bit shy around it, I suppose.
Have you heard of, or are you familiar with Claire Mann, the vegan psychologist from Australia?
No, I don't think I am.
Give her a follow. And I interviewed her on the podcast as well a couple months ago. I found her randomly in the beginning, I believe, of my vegan journey because I was struggling with how to talk to people. And I don't even know what I Googled, but somehow she came up, and she is really interesting and talks about ways to like bring people into the conversation versus calling them out, which I think is so important and I learned a lot from. And something she talks about is like asking people questions so they feel like they're in control, because we all want to feel like that in the conversation, right? So being like, oh, thanks for asking, could I tell you a little more about why? And then if someone
Mm.
says yes, then it's like, okay, well, then you can tell them. Because a lot of times I think people who are skeptical about veganism are like, don't preach to me or don't tell me what to do. But like, there's a way to go about it. She's really great if you want to look her up.
No, I definitely will look her up, but I do agree with that too. I think you can push people further away too. And I think we all find that out at one stage. I think there's so many different forms of activism, and I think a lot work for, I think a lot of the activism, it works across the board, but like, sometimes people don't like being criticized, and if they feel attacked, they just go the opposite. Like a lot of things I get online and stuff, like some people comment they just get angry and say, I'm going to eat twice the animals now and stuff like that, and it's just like crazy.
You get messages from people that they're going to eat twice the amount of animal products just because you posted about being vegan?
Yeah, see, I started on TikTok. And I thought it was too old for TikTok. So I was like,
That's how I
going back.
feel.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then it was like, right, if this is, it's another social media, I suppose, that I can kind of post awareness about. And like I say, I try to keep it like, I'd say I'm 90% positive, but every so often, I suppose reach a limit where I kind of boil over and have to take myself back and go back to when you weren't vegan. But yeah, like TikTok is one of the most, my God, like there's so much hate on it. It's like, it's ridiculous how
Really?
much, yeah, so much anger. And I think a lot of it is 12, 13-year-old kids just giving absolute abuse, to be honest. But like I don't, to be honest, get that much in regards to, I'd say one in every 15 poster that just it's like some of them have this thing where they put up like the bat sign in the sky, but it's like anti-vegan, and they all come around and they're like, right, let's get this on. It feels like that at times, to be honest. But other than that, like there is, like you said, there's a certain way to put it across too, and everyone receives it differently.
Well, it's so interesting because I think learning about those skills in regards to veganism, because it can become such a hot button issue for some people, has helped me talking about any other issue I care about as well, like the ripple effects, because there's a lot of things I want to, talk about and post about that are important to me. And I've definitely in the past come from this, like, if you don't agree, you're an idiot kind of stance. Like I've totally, maybe not used those words, but definitely implied. But having to learn through this has made me a better communicator, I think, honestly.
Yeah, it really does. Like you do get so much better communicating with people, because you kind of learn after a while what ticks people and what doesn't. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, asking a question and telling someone are two different things.
Yeah, and even in my own circle of people in my life, when I first went vegan, and then something that was really important for me was learning about the brain and health. And the book, The Alzheimer's Solution by um, Dr. their wife and husband duo, Shirzai, an amazing book, really, really great. And it just like blew my mind. My grandma has Alzheimer's, and I was like, oh, a plant-based diet is going to help keep our brains healthy. So I was like obsessed telling my parents, like, I don't want you to lose your minds. I'm going to need you to eat
Mm.
vegan like yesterday. And of course, they were totally put on the defense because I was telling them what to do, and
Mm.
I tried that for a while unsuccessfully. And then once I backed off and stopped talking about it and just kind of, did my thing,
Yeah.
my mom hasn't eaten meat except for fish in over a year now. My stepdad makes tons of plant-based food. My dad and my stepmom are eating more plant-based. And it was literally in the timeline as soon as I stopped being an asshole about it is when
Yeah.
they were like, hey, like, tell me more about that. And it was such a huge lesson on a billboard, like couldn't be bigger. Like, this is how you get people to listen to you, Carly. Like,
No, I think you're dead right on that. I was the same, like in regards to, there's small wins too, and like I find like you can actually, there's so much activism with food. Like I used to bring stuff into college, like chocolates and stuff, and like sausages, everything like that I would give to people and then be like, that's vegan, after they eat it and
like
after I get them to say it was nice. So it's a little devious, but yeah, no, I think like stuff like that is, and like, yeah, do we want everyone, do we want the hundreds of millions of people to go vegan that can go vegan? Yeah, of course we do. But, if you can have someone sit down and talk about, flexitarianism, that's a win too. And yeah, a lot of people who listen to this and say it's not enough, but you know what I mean? You have to understand, I suppose, that Rome wasn't built in a day either. And the world doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And we can't click our fingers. And so like progress is progress, you know.
Well, and I think the more I learn, the more I realize too, when people have questions, to kind of gauge their interests, because you can, like we've talked about, you could have a conversation about veganism and why it's important with this person, and then have a conversation why veganism is important with this person, and they can look totally different. One could be the environment. Maybe they care about the environment. Maybe that person, you're going to get them with animals, like pull on
Mm.
those heartstrings. There's just so many ways. Like we were talking about human rights. That's something that's probably the newer thing that I've learned about, is like the people that work in those slaughterhouses. I just cannot get over the torture they endure. So like that's an
Mm.
avenue too.
Yeah, it is. I read an article on BBC about
Oh.
slaughterhouse. I think it was like a day in the life of a slaughterhouse worker, and some of the stories in it, like there was a story about one of the guys who had to be brought into one of the rooms, and he was hysterical, bawling his eyes out anymore. And this is nearly word for word. He was like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore." Apparently, he cut open one of the cows, and a calf came out. When he cut open the stomach, calf came out, and like I read that
Oh.
article. I must link it to you. It's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
shocking. But like it almost had me in tears reading it. Like it was just like what these people have to endure. Like, and a lot of people, yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that as well. Like, like nobody wants to work in them conditions, and for that, like that pay as well, and like you're looking at COVID been rampant in so many of these places at the minute as well because of the conditions, and they don't care about the workers. Like, so it's definitely a massive issue that needs to be highlighted across the vegan community.
Yeah, I agree. I've been thinking of ways to talk about it more on my own platforms, because I think it is an um just for, I mean, even from a strategic standpoint, I know that sounds terrible, but it's just not talked about enough. And I think that would also intrigue more people, but because those workers deserve to be spoken for as well. And I don't know about Ireland, but I know here a lot of or quite a few of the slaughterhouses, people that work there are undocumented, and so that's a whole nother level of abuse and manipulation to those people's lives as well. And it's fucked. Like there's no other way to say it.
There's even statistics to back it up, like to back up like
Mm-hmm.
depression and that in working in slaughterhouse. Like, so the proof is there, but it's shocking, and that's something as well I want to look into, because it's kind of it's I'm the same. It's a newer thing I've opened my eyes to, I suppose, in the last year, and even more so in the last few months. I've been reading more articles and kind of just educating myself more on the topic, I suppose. But that's definitely something else that I would look to be introducing into my social medias.
Yeah, definitely. If you can find that BBC article, I can post it in the show notes for this one for anyone who wants to read it.
Yeah, I'll link it to you after. It was absolutely shocking. I couldn't believe, and it was dated recently in the last couple of years. Like, it was just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, the fact that people working in these places can get diagnosed with PTSD, which is something people from war come back with, like I think that tells you enough,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely crazy. And I think a lot of people, like, you know, you get a lot of people that comment on vegan pages and saying, you know, what are you doing for this? What are you doing for the homeless? What are you doing for
Mm.
this? But you know, people don't acknowledge that we are selfishly, as a society, paying someone absolutely, regardless of how low wage, but putting people in that shocking. No one wants to do that job. Like, and as a society, people just like that's why we go into Tesco's or go into our supermarkets and buy plastic wrapped food and come out so we don't have, and there's a picture of a smiling cow on the sign, like, so you know there's we have to acknowledge that there's someone down the line that's having to do that horrible job, like.
Yeah, and I think that there's this generational divide sometimes, I think, and you mentioned this a while back and it just popped in my head again, um, about making people feel bad, like they didn't know, like our parents didn't know the food they were feeding us or whatever it is. And I think that I've noticed in my life, I realized that I needed to make it clear to my parents that I wasn't mad at them, that
Mm.
I wasn't blaming them for making me eat meat or whatever it was. It's like I'm mad at everything else. Like I'm mad at the system, I'm mad at society. But there is that feeling, especially if you're of an older generation who's been more indoctrinated with these beliefs. And I can't, I'm not a parent, but I would imagine it would be really hard for your kid to be like telling you a lot of the things that you did weren't helpful or healthy. Like that would be
Mm.
hard at first. So I
Yeah,
think
no.
it's important to make it clear, like I'm not mad at you for not feeding me chickpeas when I was 2. I'm mad that the system told you that wasn't good food for me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because I think, like, in a certain term we were forced, like, we weren't born meat eaters, like, and I wouldn't say forced, but we were given it, so we had no choice. And I think sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the word forced and like that can be like, when you put it across like that, it's kind of like, well, you know my ma had 6 of us, so she'd probably be like, you ungrateful little thing. So, but you know, she had six of us to take care of. So but yeah, I think we're lucky to where we are now compared to where we were, I suppose, 20 years ago in regards to options. You know, I think
Mm.
veganism was so alienated back then compared to now. So
So in the US, options in the last couple years have completely boomed. Like it's insane. It's fun, especially for people who are transitioning into veganism, because you can literally say anything you like, there's a vegan
mm.
version. Anything. And like so many people couldn't do that. Is that happening in Ireland as well? Like are there a lot more options?
Oh, it's massive, especially like it's really big at the moment anyway. But with veganary, it's like double up. Veganary is like second Christmas, like it's just like for the month
Mm.
of veganary. But like in regards to options, every supermarket now nearly has their own brand. It's not just, they're not bringing in their Beyond Meat; they have literally their own version of Beyond Meat.
Wow.
So it's massive, and you're going in like, and you're seeing new options every day. Like it's definitely grown. But what I find as well is, like, if you're not vegan, or you're meat, you're just saying you're going to the supermarket and you're buying the same 3 animals every time. Like I go in and I'm like, holy cow, there's a new Magnum, there's new chocolate, there's new, I'm like literally going around like a child in the supermarket going, I need to get this, I need to get that. uh so like that is an exciting part of, well, I love it anyway. Just the fact that you can try new things. It's like going back and trying everything you've ever had, but without the guilt, I suppose.
Yes. What is your favorite vegan snack?
Ooh, my favorite vegan snack.
Or like vegan
Um,
treat, or like something maybe you wouldn't eat every day?
um, have me on the spot here now. I do have. I could be pronouncing this wrong. Do you have Vego or Vigo over in States? It's like a bar of chocolate and really?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's like a hazelnut bar of chocolate. And it's amazing. They have like they're after bringing out one after another. They brought out the hazelnut chocolate first, and then they brought out the I call them Vego, but I can guarantee you they're probably called Vigos. But I'm 100% pronouncing it wrong. But they brought out that, they brought out white chocolate, and they brought out dark chocolate. And I'm waiting for the vegan Jaffa cake, to be honest. That's what I need in my life.
I heard the word chocolate and I was in. That's all I needed to know that was probably good. So, are there vegan, like annual festivals anywhere in Ireland? And if there are, have you gotten to go to any?
Yeah, there's Veg Fest and Cork Fest. So I went to Veg Fest up in Dublin before last one actually, and it was amazing. Just they had food stalls, t-shirts. Just I suppose probably the same over in America as well. But yeah, just interacting with like-minded people and just the vibes up there. Like we went, it was our first year going actually, because I was working before. I was working. I used to work in the cinema, so I used to work weekends, so I didn't get a chance to kind of go to anything. But I ended up my changing job and have weekends off. So we went last year and it was amazing. We literally just went up and spent so much money and just ate everything we could, and everything that you could buy that you could take home and eat, we bought. So we were just walking out there like just pockets full of food.
I think I am going to make a new goal of visiting countries during Veg Fest. Like that'll be when we can travel again. I want to go to different countries and find a Veg Fest. So I'm going to come to Ireland someday and meet you at Veg Fest.
That would be amazing. That would be the dream. Go from country to country to Veg Fest.
Yeah, that's what I've just decided. I'm going to manifest this. I'm just putting this out right now. This intention is happening. That's what I'm going to do at someday.
And document it.
Yeah, exactly. Someone's got to be willing to pay me to do that, right?
That would be an ideal world, wouldn't it?
It really would. I'll look into it. I'll let you know what I find. Maybe you can document it. Wait a second.
There we go. But someone needs to pay me then as well.
No. I'll figure that part out.
Well, I'll work for vegan food, so
that honestly, same. If I could get there and then just someone provides me vegan food, I'm good. Are there traditional Irish meals that you've made vegan?
Yeah. So shepherd's pie, which I get shot for saying constantly because people go, "There's no lamb in your shepherd's pie, so it's not shepherd's pie." But I continue to call it shepherd's pie, which is shepherdless pie, is what people call it. But I'm just like shepherd's pie. But yeah, I love shepherd's pie. I love it with like lentils, by the way, which I did not know about till I went vegan. Like seriously, how do we not know about any of these foods? Go vegan, like. I thought nutritional yeast was fish food when I first saw it.
Well, to be fair, it kind of does look like fish food.
It
but
does
it's
look
so
like
delicious.
Food,
I'll put it on anything. Anything.
You could literally put that in your tea. It is that good. Like
it's so good. I confession have never had shepherd's pie, vegan or not.
I'm gonna have a list of things I have to send you between my Vigo/Vego and my shepherd list pie. But yeah, no, it's amazing. And like spaghetti bolognese as well is another one I like. But like it's crazy that you can just have anything that you had before now, like vegan.
It's awesome. It's really fun.
Yeah, and as well the like I had no idea that tofu existed. Like I literally just feel like I came out under a stone, and it was like, hold on, like because I love lentils, like, and like where have they been in my life? And maybe I'm getting old, like saying I love lentils, but
no, same. When I first made spaghetti with lentils, I was blown away. I was like, why? How did I not know? I feel like I just completely ignored 85% of the grocery store. too. Like, it's funny because it's like these things have been sitting there, but I just definitely didn't. I was like, I don't know what that is.
They're so cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the best
so cheap,
part.
and it's full of protein and all. Like it's amazing what they're. Yeah, we should just literally do another podcast another time and just talk about lentils for an hour.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we could really dive into lentils.
I honestly, like, I feel there's potential there for a lentil podcast, and not even just one episode. We could do an entire series on it.
Oh man, a spin-off of the show. Well, I hope that when you release your documentary, you will join me again, maybe with Maddie, and can talk about the outcome there and what happened and the release of it. I would love to hear from both of you.
Yeah, I'm planning on like going well March or that, and I was planning on before entering into festivals and that, but with COVID now everything is just up in the air, so I'm probably just going to drop it to YouTube. So I'll probably send you a link, and then sure me and Matty can jump on and have a chat about it or whatever, and definitely good to talk to you again.
That would be great. Well, I truly appreciate this. Is there anything that you didn't get to share or wanted to say before we sign off?
Not really. I suppose if anyone's thinking about veganism, just to give it a go, like I honestly I feel like it's put across so daunting and so like it's been given that label that it's, you know, it's extreme and it's restricting, and it's really not. It's actually quite the opposite. You kind of take off chains in a certain term to your food when you go vegan, and there's just so much more options than before. Like, and I think it is marketed the other way. I think from the animal industry that it's restrictive and extreme, when it's just the total opposite.
That's a really, really good point. And
so
a really
I think,
perfect way to end.
With that before I start talking about lentils again.
That's for the next time we chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, again, thank you so much for being willing to do this again. I think it was great. I think we did a really good job, all things considered.
Yeah, I hope it's as good as it's good now, and that I didn't mess up this one or anything.
No. I think it was great, and I'm going to work on editing and hopefully get it out tonight.
Oh well, good luck with it anyway. Keep me updated, and I'll be sharing that anyway, and I'll be chatting to you soon.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I really enjoyed it. Like when you said it was second, I was like, pop back on for a second chat, no problem.
Okay, good. I avoided messaging you for a few hours after I found out, because I was just like, I feel like such an idiot, and I'm asking him to talk again, and this sucks.
No. Well, these things,
I guess you are in the film world, so you get it a little bit.
Yeah. Boring corporate side of it, but I do get it.
Oh man. All right. Well, thank you. I will keep you posted, and I will tag you when everything's out.
Perfect. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Consciously Clueless. If you are enjoying this podcast, hit subscribe wherever you're listening. If you want to help me get this into the ears of more listeners, send it to a friend, text it to a family member, share on social media, and tag me. Whatever you can do really helps me out. And if you are looking for even more ways to connect, I am on Patreon. If you head to patreon.com/consciouslycarly, you'll see all the really cool things I'm offering over there. Yoga class passes, meditation videos, what I eat in a day videos, and more. So go over and check that out. Until next time.